breakdowns aren't just mechanical, they're financial. Every time your truck's in the shop, your money is too. But it doesn't have to be that way. Tonight, we're showing you how to master maintenance before it masters your wallet. We got a special guest, Mike the Mechanic, aka NARC. Y'all know him. If you don't, you probably shouldn't at that point. But whatever. I dig the guy. I think it's hilarious. I love his other channels. He's crazy on there. But he's, you know what? He's a mechanic and he does cool stuff and he likes to help people out. Anyhow, so he's going to be joining us for, real shop floor insight, as they say. I don't know who says that. And you don't want to miss this. Jeff actually made it. He's sitting in a dock. We'll be right back. Check it out, y'all.
Paying too much for trucking insurance? What if you could save more by making one simple phone call and keep more profit? You could very well do just that with one simple call to Seabright Agency, 800-366-6466. Call now.
Now here's a question that all owner-operators and small fleet owners should consider. What happens when you access the unrivaled advantages that are available through the ES Advantage program? We asked Jeff and Charlie from Contractors Corner to share their thoughts on how they've been able to utilize the discounts and services that are a part of the ES Advantage.
So we started looking for a way to save money on fuel. And we were turned on to the ES Advantage program for fuel first. And so we got a hold of Jeff Reese and he ran us through that program. And man, we were starting to save. And then we started talking to them. Well, we saw their website and we said, Jeff, what's this thing about insurance and accounting and
right.
You lease trucks? What?
Right. And that's the thing is we only knew it as a fuel card. And when we started digging deeper, I mean, we ended up getting hooked up with an insurance provider, Seabright Agency, and they created an entire insurance program just for us and our people. And from that, we've learned that, now there's even more potential. There's a greater opportunity. And it's completely opened up our eyes and broadened our vision into what it is we're trying to do, which is help people do better. Wrapped with the ES community just makes that process so much easier.
Now, if you're an owner-operator or small fleet owner and you would like to learn more about how you can drive savings to the bottom line of your business, the ES Advantage program has the discounts and services that deliver the kind of unrivaled advantages that are designed to help you improve your overall operation. Get connected with the ES Advantage today.
All right, like I said, I got Jeff. Look at that. In his beautiful safety vest, looking all, I don't know, something. And we got Mike. What's up, man? I'm gonna put
Hello, how is everybody? How's everybody doing? Oh, top fucking seat right there in the damn.
We can put baby in the corner.
Baby in the corner. I like it.
Wait, we are. I don't even know. Here, if I call you.
Watch out! If you see a bunch of people that say I sent them, you could probably block them right away. I'm just fair warning. You already know the game. This ain't the first.
It's fine. I don't block people, man. They do whatever. We try to mind our language and whatever. But hey, look, it slips. I get it. No worries. You know what? All we ask is that you be open to conversations, right? I mean,
I thought you were gonna say donate like $3. Is this not a donation? Look,
whatever, man. I mean, look, I ain't gonna say no, but what? Because we get like 0.2% of whatever people put on the screen, right? Whatever, Facebook, I mean YouTube, whatever. Who cares? It ain't for that. Anyhow, so good to see you, Jeff. Glad you made it, man. I was like sketchy. I didn't know.
Well, as soon as Capstone gives me a text message to tell me that I owe them $10 million for unloading this truck, I'm going to have to go deal with that. But,
right? Because that's great stuff. I'm glad I don't deal with lumpers.
Damn, life on 18 wheels is giving you shit, Jeff.
Okay. That guy, I love that guy. He's fun. You know what? I'm just gonna get into it. We've changed our format since the last time you were on, Mike. I have notes that I've been trying to run for the first half of the show because you and we had that squirrel brain thing, bro.
Oh yeah,
And I
100%.
can't stay on top of it. So I'm gonna do my best to keep us. And did you notice there's like chat on the actual main screen
Yep,
now?
I see it. I like it.
No,
I like it. I see
kind of
my
like that
avatar up
too,
there.
right? Because I think it'll show. I think it'll play. Because what the chat doesn't like post after you end the video for like hours and hours. It seems. And this way, I figure people can see the chat right after whatever. I don't know. For all three people that watch us on the replays and stuff. We love.
No, come on, man. It's tens and tens.
All right, tens and tens. Love them. But all right, so here we go. I have notes just in case Jeff didn't show up, but I'm gonna skip over that. So breakdowns
Who's first? Who's first?
What?
Who's first?
You calm down right now. I'll tell you when to talk. Right now, I need you to play Ed because you don't have stuff on screen.
Uh-huh.
Whatever. This is great. What could go wrong?
Oh, nothing. You know this.
Yeah. All right, so we're going to be talking about preventative maintenance. Isn't just about keeping your truck running. It's about protecting your profit, the difference between reactive and proactive maintenance, because, a lot of us like to just wait till something breaks and then we do something rather than actually looking for these things ahead of time, right? Hey, good to see you. Welcome back. So it's weird because I have two chats open. I have the one in StreamYard, right, which shows me everything from our channel and your channel, Mike. And so I tend to watch I use a pop out on the YouTube so I can see over there, and it's just throwing me off. And this is gonna be fun.
Yeah. So yeah, we worked that out, but I'm streaming on my channel. So anybody that's on my channel, I threw the link for this channel because this is the chat I'm reading. I'm not even reading.
Oh, it's great, man. Watching this is hilarious.
Imagine.
And simple habits and systems that can keep you on the road longer. Emergency repairs cost more than scheduled maintenance. Let's be real, because right off the bat, you're already talking about $100 road call, maybe more, right?
Yes. Easily.
Yeah,
easily. That does. Yeah, I don't even know if that would get them out. $100 phone call.
Right. I remember one time in Chewy, I kept blowing or was it in Chewy? I don't know. It was in one of my trucks. I kept blowing this coolant line that was up on top of.
I'll be back.
Granny.
Yep. On your surge tank, probably.
Oh my god.
Reservoir or something.
I had to go through the it was Chewy because I had a stick. I had to go through the boot to reach this thing from inside the truck, reach in there, mess with it blind, it blow coolant all over the place. And it was just, dude, not cool at all. And this stupid line was just, you couldn't get to it, right? So every now and again, I'd have to call somebody and be like, hey, can you bring me a couple gallons of coolant? And they're like, sure. Each gallon, we're going to charge you $50 a gallon for, and we're going to charge you for the mileage there and back. And a road call. I'm like, bro, I remember one day I actually walked 2 miles back to a truck stop and then carried 9 gallons back. Do you know how stupid I looked?
Just had him on a rope on a sling.
Bro.
Hey, you probably didn't look any different than a bunch of homeless people walking up down the highways, depending on what city you're in.
Man. And of course I'm leading them back to my trusty Swift trailer at the time, right? And everybody's like, look at that guy, whatever. Anyhow, it's cool, but trying to be proactive on this stuff because, like I said, emergency repairs cost money. Towing, downtime, parts delay kills your income. That kind of stuff is absolutely. A lot of it is preventable. You don't have to be at the mercy of those people and those things, right?
Correct.
You can kind of steer us through this. The run it till it breaks mentality, which I've had and I will have again, I'm sure, at some point in time, because it switches day to day, right? Some days you're just like, oh my God, screw it. And other days you're like, man, I got to get on top of this stuff.
The run until you break theory doesn't really even work anymore because no one keeps parts on hands like that, right? These places don't keep. It's not, 10 years ago, probably not even that. Pre-COVID, right? I guess everything's a fucking pre-COVID or everything's COVID based now. But Pre-COVID, maybe, but you can't run until it breaks, because they may not have it, right? They may not have an air dryer sitting at the at the Speedco or at the Loves, right? They just may not have it, so you can't run it like that no more.
Right. Dude, and I mean, it's to the point now where if you're not running these checks ahead of time, especially with all the computer crap, let's just be real about that. Holy hell. I had a weird thing pop up. Was it though? It was last week. I don't know. Whenever the hell I was working last. And I don't know. I mentioned it on our other show, but so this is what happened, Mike. It was great. I get to the QT where I'm getting fuel. Just before that, the truck's running the regen while we're rolling down the road like it's supposed to. That's great. I pull in there. I get the little light on the dash. Says, "Hey, dummy, don't turn it off. It's still too hot." I'm like, "Great. I'm gonna go inside and I'm gonna pee and I'm gonna come back out and it should be cooled off because that's the normal thing how it works, right? It just takes a few minutes for it to cool down and then you can shut it down and you're not cracking stuff." Dude, I walk back into the truck, climb up in there, and all kinds I got a Christmas tree lit up on the dash. I got the regular plain amber light, the one that says check amber light, and a red one, stop engine, and I got a countdown going on my display, and it says something, and I couldn't see it fast enough. It said something like, safety shut down, 3, 2, 1, truck shuts off. I was like, what the hell just happened? Right? So I turn the key back on or off, and then I turn it back on. And I should have actually looked for codes before I turned the key off, but sometimes not smart and long day, whatever. I turned the key back on, no codes, nothing, can't see anything. All the lights are off except for just a plain amber one that says, "Hey, there was a code, but it's clear. But maybe you could check it out in a couple of days, and we'll clear this code out in the next 3 start-stop cycles." Right? I'm like, whatever. Couldn't get a code. Still have no idea what the hell even happened there. To this day, no clue.
You gotta love it. I mean, I would assume most of the regulars in here are running newer equipment, but yeah, the electronics is. I mean, obviously, we all know that's a fight that you're not gonna. Yeah, I mean, all you can do is try to be ahead of it, but you're not going to be ahead of some of that stuff anymore. You're just not going to. I mean, not even with the basic stuff I don't want to call it basic, but the stuff that you can buy and keep on hand, right? You're not going to keep a $5,000 J Pro setup in your truck to ride around with you. So,
right. Look, I got a little code reader that I bought that's great. I can't remember the name of it. Some of these guys know what it is. They know what I'm talking about. But when something pops in, I can do a force regen and that kind of stuff. Right. A little Bluetooth app and I can read codes, and because it cleared the codes, I couldn't get it. That's what I tell anybody that anymore, which is spend the money, right? And it's not a lot of money. You can easily do it for under $1,000. Is get you one that will actually do force regens on your truck. I should say vehicle on your truck, and get one that that you've seen. That will clear codes. I can tell you at the shop because I do concrete mixers, right? Small, but we have a system called a launch. It's just a cheap code reader, but it does everything, and it won't clear all inactive codes. It won't clear all like after treatment, even inactive stuff, and it's worthless at that point because and of course our stuff's at a shop, so it's a little different, but. If you buy something like that, you're just going to be disappointed if you get it, at some point, because it's going to let you down and you're still going to be paying for somebody to come out for nothing, probably. Right.
For literally a nothing burger.
Blindsight nailed it. It's the OTR diagnostics thing. Yep. Right. It's a subscription. It's like $400 or $600 a year. Yep. Right. And here's my justification for it. Because people gave me stat about it. They're like, bro, that's a lot of money just for that subscription. I'm like, yeah, but if I perform or have to perform one forced regen, it's paid for itself.
Right. Yeah.
Because the shop fee, maybe a tow, man.
Look, there's the crowd, Charlie. The chickens, they're at the door. They're here. They're here.
Yeah.
T-Bone, that's for you. I know you're in here. The chickens are here. They're ready. We're ready to go. Yeah, well, you're right. It's because you got to look at it like that. is you got to look at it as if it saves you, even if it saves you 5, what you would consider five call outs, or the time, right? The time factor is a big deal, right? Everybody knows the time factor is a big deal when it comes to that too. If you're stuck and it's only, we'll diag it for $200, right? And we'll read in it for $200. Oh, okay, cool. But hey, we can't get till tomorrow morning at 8 a.m.
Okay.
Well, now, where's that throw you off in your schedule? And everybody, I'm not in that. I'm not in the part of knowing the hours of service. I know them good enough, but time is money, right? How many times have y'all probably said that? Time is money. Your time's just as valuable as saving some money for a road service or something, right?
Right.
It really is.
Dude, it's crazy. I mean, I told this story from way back. The very first truck I leased was that first new style international LT, whatever the heck it was, right? And it was funny because I had a couple services done on it. I'd gone through a couple cycles, and I get to the TA out there in Ontario, California, and get a service done. And they're like, yeah, so we can't get the truck to prime. And I'm like, well, just do like everybody else has done. You put the air hose in the fuel tank thingy-majigger, right, the cap, and you just push some air in, and that primed it up. They're like, no, bro, that's not how you're supposed to do that. That's like, kind of a side hack type deal. And I'm like, but that's what every service has done since I've owned this truck. They're like, no, your lift pump has never operated from the day you got this truck. And that's why everybody has had to do it. So this is what we're going to do. Don't worry, bro. It's under warranty. We're going to have them come pick it up from down the street, international down the street.
Yeah. Warranty. That warranty is a beautiful thing, right?
Right. And I'm like, awesome. So I'm like, so how long is it going to take them to get that? They're like, yeah, well, they'll have a tow truck down here in a couple hours and they'll tow you up there. I'm like, if you just push air in it, it'll start, whatever. And then they're like, yeah, we can't do that. And so they're like, yeah, the tow truck will be down here in a little bit. And they said they had the part on hand, and it's only going to be 7 days before they get that put in. And I'm like, wait, 7 days? So I asked the dude at the TA, I'm like, look, can you get the part and I'll just pay for it? He's like, well, yeah, but why would you do that? It's warranty, bro. I'm like, that's 7 days of lost revenue. At the time, I was running full teams with a dude. Back then, we're talking, 08, 09, 10, 11, around there. I was doing about $1,000 to $1,500 in revenue per day net, right? So for every day down, I looked at it as that's $1,000 lost for a day. 7 days at $7,000. Where's the free in that, right?
Right.
And I'm like, and how much are you going to charge me? He's like, well, it's going to cost me it's going to cost you like, I think he said like $1,200 or something like that. It's so damn long ago. I'm lucky if I can remember my name, but it's so damn long. I think it's like $1,200. I'm like, well, great, do that. How long is it going to take you? He's like, 4 hours. I'm like, awesome, bro, do that. He's like, really? It's warranty. And I'm like, just do the work. And he couldn't understand why I was paying for it.
Yep.
Even after I explained it to him, right? So came in at like $900 and they were done in like 3 or 2 hours or something like that, right? And I was rolling down the road, and I ran from LA to New York to Oregon to LA to New York, all in the time that it took what would have been me sitting in a hotel. Oh yeah, there's that expense. Me in a hotel for two guys, me and another dude.
Right. Yeah, it all racks up. I mean, y'all know that more than I do, right? I don't sit in a hotel. It is, and it's always, and now, again, it's been like this for a minute now, but now you go back with that a new truck's a new truck, but we all know that warranty will bite you just as fast as having a warranty and not having the warranty, and not keeping up on your maintenance. It will bite you just as fast, right?
Right.
I know I've been on here before and I've told this story, but it's been 3 years now. Is we bought brand new Oshkosh mixers, they run X12s instead of X15s, and one of them lost the after treatment, the def doser, almost immediately. At the time, $460,000 mixer trucks, something like that, and we lost. It went down in I'm gonna say March or April, and it was national back order. It's like in 2022.
Right.
The truck sat in our lot until for about 6 months, 6 or 7 months, right? I mean, what good is the brand new warranty there? Because we couldn't go on eBay and order the doser, right? We could find them, but we can't order them. Come is a Cummins. Yeah, I mean, when it was time to do it, the Cummins guy came out.
Right. Because it's got to be their part from their warehouse.
Yep. And that's just not a mixer truck, right? We run the same after treatment that are on the over the road trucks. So it wouldn't have mattered, what. And I mean, we all know what was going on again during COVID when they were doing electronic deletes, right? We all know how that game went.
So
it's
crazy. Quick recap. Emergency repairs, higher labor, parts cost, towing and downtime, lost revenue days. Wow, my glasses. I need new glasses. I've only had them a little while. Parts delays, like Mike's saying, missed loads and appointments because of it. I mean, just revenue gone that you can't get back. It's gone. Reputation, right? Yep. People are like, oh, maybe this is the first time you're running for a specific client.
Yep. New carrier, and
they're like, oh, I'm never getting this guy again, right? Long term, lower resale value because you're not maintaining your truck, and that's leads us into what we're talking about next week. We'll get more into that later. But so these things here, it just seems like it shouldn't be that big a thing, and we shouldn't have to tell people these things. But the reality is, I mean, I've been known to forget things, like I said. But it's pushing us into the next kind of segment of the show, creating a simple preventative maintenance system, building a weekly, monthly, quarterly checklist, something along those lines, tracking your oil changes, your tire rotations, brake checks, fluid levels, and Mike can help us out here with, tools of the trade. Mike's go-to PM trick we should adopt, something like that. But definitely, this is definitely where I defer to you. I mean, you and I have talked over the years, and Jeff, and you know what I've done in the past, like with my old Freightliner. I did most of the work myself, or I had a mechanic that I trusted that came to my house and taught me how to fix things, or did it because I was lazy that day, right? On this truck that I'm in now, dude, I ain't gonna lie, I take it to the Swift shop for all of the maintenance stuff right now, because I have no intention of keeping this truck permanently, and that's a whole nother discussion Jeff and I get into all the time. And I'm just letting them run it the way they run it. I make sure that the things are done that need to be done, because Lord knows they can't even follow their own schedule. But whatever, that's a whole nother thing. But so for those of us, for those people who aren't at a mega carrier in that kind of real restrictive lease type of deal, Mike, what would be the recommendations for your daily, weekly, monthly, quarterly type stuff for these guys?
I mean, back to basics, right? What we all learned, and I say week, I'm not including this, is morning daily pre-trip checks is a must, and I would assume over time, everybody, just like anything, you get to know your truck, the truck you're driving, right? I guess it's your truck, right? Whether it's, I know there's not a lot of company people in here, but whether it's a company truck, but just knowing where everything should be and what it should show when it's, when you're checking stuff, knowing where, having some basics, like you said, coolant. I mean,
right.
I highly doubt anybody's carrying 9 gallons of coolant, right? Most of these trucks hold 12 to probably 14
I did for a year and a half.
Right. But in a need to have situation, if you have some empty bottles, this is never a thing that I would recommend, but you can always put water in it, right? If it's saving you $500, you're going to make that up, right? I mean, you're going to spend that to replace the coolant, but in all reality, as having your basics, some oil, some coolant, basic tools. Anymore nowadays, tools, everything's obviously so upgraded that you can go to Harbor Freight. I'm not a big proponent of Harbor Freight, but I definitely buy Harbor Freight stuff, so you can keep you a little tool set in there, and do your day, your weekly checks, routine, right? Daily and weekly stuff.
Yep.
Have a grease gun on hand. An electric grease gun, so you can grease your truck. You know, I don't want to sit here and say you don't have to grease the whole truck, right? Like that's a bad thing to say. But the big things to grease is like your front ends. That's what wears out on these trucks. You all drive up and down these roads. I don't know how many you drive down 70, but all I hear when I go into social media is how bad fucking I-70 is from, going east out of Indy. Like it's like I'm the one that works on it or something, and I'm a terrible mechanic anyway, so you don't want me working on the roads. But, able to grease your front end. Of course, it'd be nice if you did your U-joints and slack adjust and everything else, but if nothing else, greasing the front end and keeping it, keeping everything, lubed up front. I don't know. Get you a checklist, right? If you don't know, I mean, I know, well, I shouldn't say I know, but I know for a fact that Night Transportation has a checklist that they will give you. It's probably in their ELDs as well. I'm sure Swift's the same way, right? Same company. Is that they'll give you that's got 4 million things on it that you don't really need to do half, but you can scratch out what you don't do. You can make copies of it, or you can just get in your head as a routine, right? That, hey, this is what I need to do on Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays, and this is what I need to do Monday through Sunday, right? Or however your schedule works out.
Right. No, and so, I threw up on the screen, maintenance calendar. This is what I have. It's real simple, real short. It's not the end all be all. So don't go crazy on me, people. Weekly tire pressure. Okay, so it should be daily, but at least stab your tires once a week, y'all. You need, and okay, I know these guys are gonna go funny, bro. If you stab it, it'll be empty. You know what I mean? Use a tire gauge and make sure your tires are equal and across axles, and they're all close to what you need them to be. I tend to run 115 pounds and everything. I make sure that I stay around that. Once it gets down below 110, I mean, literally just under 110, I air them all back up in the dark at sea level in my backyard. Okay. That's me. I get it. Don't do it right after you come off the road because, pressures are weird because of heat. All that kind of stuff. Monthly oil changes, brake pads, visual leak inspections, right?
Visual leaks, right? That's a big one. That's stuff that goes sideways quick. Especially if you're not. And no, mother, 80 psi is not acceptable on tires. We're going to talk about tires in a minute and how important tires are. Everything boils down to checking your tire pressure when it's all said and done. So we'll be in that in a little bit, I'm sure.
Right. Yeah, it's crazy. So quarterly, maybe get that alignment checked. It's not a big expense, and I'm not talking about the TA and their crazy thing. I'm a fan of the MD alignment people that actually use common sense alignment in an as driven setup type deal, right?
Right.
Let's see. Use a digital checklist, or you could use apps to remind you, hey man, check this at this time. Set up a weekly or a monthly, quarterly, whatever. And look, keep records. Keep records, y'all. Everything you do, write it down. Keep the bills, the invoice, whatever, because you're gonna need it for warranty, taxes, and resale down the road.
All this crap is so much easier because everybody, I don't care who you are. You can go to any YouTube channel you want to. Right. You can go. We have some Walmarters in the chats over here, and there's multiple Walmarters that put that do pre-trips, and they video them, and they have their phone, looking at the truck while they're walking around doing their thing. There's multiple apps that will do the reminders you're talking about, but you can put all that crap in. Right. That all the crap, and you can set them up the way you want. Hey, I only want to do tire pressure on Mondays and Thursdays, right? And it will just tell you, hey, today's the day, idiot, that you get out the tire gauge, right? And go down and check your tires, right? And there's literally no excuse for anybody to pull in. I mean, right? Stuff happens to pull in and realize that, hey, I've been riding around on 80 psi. Or, hey, my surge tank doesn't have enough coolant in it, right? Right. It's too low. It's not a thing anymore. Right. It shouldn't be. It should never be a thing, but it's not. It's too much. There's too many alarms that you can be. You can set up easily now.
Look. You said let's talk tires, bro. because look, I just saw a post in one of our groups the other day. I actually think it was the Swift group, and they're like, "Hey, one of my tires is at 30 psi. Is that okay to drive it to, the nearest truck stop and whatever?"
And
oh my god, dude.
the thing. Okay, so and again, I know I come in your channel, right? So no, most of your people, I shouldn't say your people, but the people that watch, I'm sure, are pretty good about it. But if you want to learn about tires and alignments and how important they are, and do it in a air quotes fun way, is sub to Bending with Brendan, right, on YouTube. Nice. It's a dude. He's a redneck dude. I think he lives in Arkansas, Oklahoma. Redneck as shit, but he's been bending frames, right, fixing frames on trucks, and doing alignments for, I don't know, 25, 30 years. For anybody that knows him, he carries around Bob, which is a little wand, a little red hand. But he'll teach you more about tires and what happens when you run your tires at 90 psi versus 110, right? Or what manufacturers recommend and how much you're destroying them, all that good stuff.
Right.
I mean, it's that at 10 psi, and even this time of year, right? And we're a little past it, but this time of year when the temps are up and down, depending on where you're at and when you're traveling across, and Indiana's 70 degrees right now, and you go farther up north and it's still 40 degrees. It's important because you travel those miles throughout the day, right? Most of y'all travel those miles throughout the day. It's Bending with Brendan, PU. Here, I'll put the link in here while I'm sitting.
Look, PU writes his maintenance intervals on his hand, and since he doesn't wash his hands, we know it's all good, right?
Right. Yes. Yes. So he always has it, but sadly, he's not. He can only write right-handed, right? So it's on his left hand, and we won't get into what he probably does with his left hand in the evenings.
Never shake hands with PU Patel. Just maybe an elbow.
Sorry, PU, we're putting you on blast here, buddy. I'm sorry.
Much love, but I'm just saying.
Right.
But yeah, so I mean, going over this stuff, it seems very basic to many people, and yet this is the funny thing to me. And I don't know if it's funny. I'm probably saying this the wrong way. I'm going to offend someone. I'm not actually trying to piss people off with this. What I'm saying is we have a tendency to get complacent. We're just like, I'm tired. I'm getting up. We've all seen those guys, in the truck stop. Open the curtains, haven't even climbed out of the truck, open the curtains, push some buttons on the dash, and drive down the road. Right?
Yep. Just go. And here's the bad part, right? I don't know if it's bad or not, but is like you said, everybody's complacent. But nowadays, you can get away with that way longer now than you used to be able to get away with that. Right. Everybody, I saw somebody put in here. They put Halo. I don't know if they meant Halo, but everybody, the trailers all have their own air systems, right, for tires, right? Pretty much all of them. I would assume Swift does. Knight has it on every single trailer that they have. They run the Meritor system. Right. So I say that. Now, it doesn't matter. They have their own tire inflator system on every trailer. Most of them don't work correctly, but they're there, right. So you don't got to check your trailer, right? And you can get away with it because guess what? If your truck runs low on oil, it's just going to shut off anyways. So right. It makes it very easy to forget all these, but it's a muscle memory thing, right? That's what it boils down to.
It'll be habits.
Yep. Well, and a big thing of not checking it every day is when you go to check it and you say, well, that doesn't seem right. Well, you don't know what doesn't seem right because potentially you put 2,000 miles on the truck since the thing that you're seeing now. Right. And a lot of people don't think about it. It's like, oh man, this thing seems like it burned some oil. Was it burning oil 2 weeks ago? Or was it low on oil when I checked it 3 days, in my 3-day intervals 2 weeks ago? I don't, so you don't even have a good record of what, if it's been burning oil or how much it's been burning. I can tell you, I have 12 trucks at my shop. I don't see all of them. I see them on a daily basis, but we have 10 drivers, so I only have 2 spares. On Saturdays, I go through I check all our trucks, right? I drain air tanks. I go and kind of kick tires and make sure there's, check tags and do little odds and ends. I don't remember when I lift a hood on a truck if it's got a huge puddle of hydraulic fluid underneath the pump, if it was leaking last week or not. The only way I can usually tell is how dirty everything is, like how much oil's everywhere, because I don't write it down. So I don't remember if this truck was leaking oil last week, right? Or it just had a drip, or if it's something new. It is what it is. I'm guilty of it, just the same.
I was guilty of that for years and years. And then, I really started dipping into Chewy, the old Freightliner. And I had that dude that was teaching me stuff, and that was awesome. And I've gone back the other way on this, lease that I'm going to be turning in at the end. I do climb around and look at a bunch. Look, Rosie washed it. I'm actually looking at it right now. It's the first time that truck's been washed by anything other than rain in over a year. Look, don't judge, whatever. I don't even care. Say whatever you want. I don't care. It's a work truck. I don't care what it looks like. As long as it works, it's safe, and everything's not falling off. Like, I don't know, a Kenworth T680, but I'm good with it. But that's cool. But for you guys that are watching, do you follow a PM checklist or fix things as they break? And, hey, I know you guys got jokes, but, real question for people that want to give a real answer, and I think that'd be interesting. But let's go into parts, vendors, and warranty mistakes that cost people money, right? We kind of touched on warranties a little bit, but using cheap parts that fail faster, right?
Yep.
Missing warranty claims or dealer coverage. Let's see, how to build trusted vendor relationships. Mike can give us some do's and don'ts when dealing with, because look, Mike dealing with vendors and parts suppliers and things like that. You don't want to just call up these guys and start yelling at them unless you got that kind of relationship, and then it's cool. I've got a relationship like that with a couple people, but whatever. I'm like, man, that garbage you sent me, send it again, because that one was garbage. But most people probably won't take that well.
Nope.
I don't know. What do you got, Mike? Tell
me. I can tell you today, and for anybody is original Meritor slack adjusters. And I can only tell you this because I dealt with this for an hour and a half this morning. Part number, and let's see if I can get this right. And if it's wrong, it doesn't matter because you all don't know either. But it's RU801339. That's just a standard Meritor slack adjuster, probably on most of y'all truck, the old school with the 5/16 square with the button on it. Most trucks don't run those anymore anyways, but all our mixer trucks, that's what's on them, is they no longer, if you want a Meritor one, they're $298, but you can get a, I don't even know what the brand, I'll make up, and I think it was an Easley was the manufacturer that they had on hand for $100, $150. This was at Rush, right? $150 cheaper. So, whatever, they were $120 instead of the $280 or whatever it was. Don't buy those, right? If you're the guy that's changing them, if you're buying it because you're putting a slack adjuster on your truck, buy that shit all day long. Right? I'm not saying buy it because it's going to last. You're putting it on, that it's cheaper, and that you're changing the one because you knew the other one went bad or was going bad or didn't seem right. So if you can save your money and the thing lasts for 6 or 8 months, right? I mean, they should last way longer than that, but maybe you're money ahead. But anymore, there's so many. You can go on eBay. I have a couple buddies that are on Twitch or on Twitter that they both run flat tops, and they run whatever it is, seven car fifth wheel trailers.
Right.
And they do everything. They have a shop together. They do everything from turbos, everything internally, overheads. They do all their stuff, and they buy everything off eBay. They don't care what the name brand is on it. Obviously turbos and stuff they do, but because they're changing it. And they'll usually buy 2, planning on it not lasting very long, whatever it is. But, I don't know. It's a back and forth. But if you're buying it from somebody and you're not doing it, you need to be buying quality stuff. And that's anymore, it's hard to kind of know if stuff is quality, right? I mean, if you ask me, TRP brand at Kenworth is junk or for freaking PACCAR. But that's what they offer, and that's their brand. So that's what they somewhat stand behind, if you want to call it that.
Right.
So,
Yeah.
I mean, that's what you should be buying, even though it costs more. And I get everything's up now, right? So you're fighting those costs anyways. Lots of stuff now for you guys that are hands on. I mean, I'm not telling anybody probably in your chats or in my chats that don't know this already, but lots of this stuff is easier for you to do now, maintenance wise, and
Right.
even past maintenance wise, right? If you don't know anything about disc brakes and you got disc brakes on a new truck, you can change disc brakes, the pads with literally most of them are Meritors or a bolt, 12 millimeter head bolt, and it's a little bar that pops out, and you pull the shoes out or the pads out, slide new ones on, and ride down the road, right?
Right.
And there again, that's stuff that that's newer stuff that people don't know about, but you can do it on your own. Slack adjusters, brake chambers, little different story, but
Right.
Winzard's in here. I'm not saying Winzard's not great at figuring out how to work on stuff, but I mean, he does probably 90% of what he can, on his truck. He had a brake chamber go bad. He never done a brake chamber, I don't think. And we just walked through what to do on it, right? But he knew. He went and bought the right size brake chamber, a name brand brake chamber. So that made life easier, right? Didn't have one where he had to, he was fighting. It was clocked, 90 degrees out. And, because, I mean, that's the difference when you get some of this stuff.
Right.
I mean, if it's a windshield wiper, I don't know that it matters nowadays that you buy the $12 one or the $30 one.
Right.
I mean, it obviously probably does in a lifespan, but I don't think it matters. But if you're buying a slack adjuster, an airbag, I mean, you probably need to be buying, the Brigstone ones. And I hate to say it because you get pushback on all that, but I don't know. I don't listen to those guys anyway. So
Right. No, I'm with you.
So it doesn't matter.
I tend to lean towards the bigger OEM parts on some of this stuff.
Yep.
Some of it you can get away with on the other side because you're like, it's super easy to fix. It, its quality is okay. It lasts long enough that the cost makes sense, right? And when I had, when I was running Chewy, the paid for truck, right? Like I said, I did as much as I could. And when I didn't know how to do something, I'm asking Mike, hey man, I'm doing this. Or I had my dude Ed that I called, and he came over, man, and showed up with his work truck and just start knocking it out. He's like, all right, man, you actually turning wrench today? You watching, or are you going to drink beer? I'm like, yeah, right. I'm gonna go drink beer. Or man, I'm turning wrenches. I paid him the same no matter what, right? So I could get an education, get more value, or I could just, it depended on my mood. Let's be real.
Right.
So maybe we could dip into 5 common maintenance mistakes. I got a silly list. I'm gonna throw it up. Bam. Yep. Ignoring small warning signs, using cheap parts that fail early, skipping regular inspections, missing warranty coverage opportunities, and not logging maintenance history. Right. What do you got, Mike?
I don't know. That really probably covers it. But I tell you is, when it comes to like you're writing, well, not yours, but this is so fucking small I can't read it. Is the cheap? I mean, we went over the cheap part thing, right? Like, and if you're not sure if you should be buying cheap, whatever, then reach out, right? That's a real one. You just said it a million times. Reach out, have somebody reach out to somebody. If you can't find what's going on in this world that we're in now through YouTubes or any, I mean, okay. I have a truck that has an injector cup, I think a couple injector cups going bad, and Quick's in here, and I called Quick about it the other day because I've never really dealt with injector cups. Most of our trucks are, I mean, my yard's all older stuff, and not putting a pin in my chest, but because I can work on the older stuff and keep it running more than this new stuff that doesn't need a whole lot of, a spring for a return spring for a throttle or whatever it might be, right? This mechanical stuff that these kids can't work on. But I've never really I know sort of what, if an injector cup's failing, what it shows. I had a fuel tank. What it was, I had a fuel tank that pressurized, right? We run old school D-style fuel tanks. And the guy said, I can't get my lid off. You go look at it, it looks like a jelly bean. Right, all the corners are pushed out, and I said, "Shut the key off and go away because that's a mini bomb." And for anybody that knows what happened, this happened last Friday, right? Is what happened to me on Monday of last week with the fuel tank strap that smashed me across the face, right? It's like, just let's leave the fuel tank stuff alone for right now. You know what I mean? But that's because of injector cup. Is what we think. Is obviously it's pressuring, coolant's passing by, it's pressuring up, backfeeding, but neither here nor there. Is I didn't know, so I called somebody, but in the meantime of calling, right, I got on YouTube, Cummins injector cup failures, right? There's no reason to not know on cheap parts, right? Hey, should I put this on? Should I not put this on? Is this a part that I can risk with, right? Is a quick release valve for my tag axle? Can I buy a $20 one instead of an $80 one?
Okay.
And then the other one, there was another one. Sorry, skipping the regular inspections, but the small, what was it? Ignoring the small problems,
right?
Small signs. That's a big one because, again, if you see a little oil around your oil pan, right, and you're like, I mean, most people probably are going to common sense say, hey, that's probably not going to get any better. But again, you can say, oh man, I got a Detroit Series 60, or I got a DD15, whatever it is, and it's got an oil pan leak, on the left side of the block, right, midway down. Type that into YouTube, and it will tell you, oh man, they're having a problem right now with failures on the oil pan gasket midway. Same way, anything, right? So there's no reason for you to skip that and it turn into something major, or turn into whether it's major or not is. Everybody's strictening up, this foreign thing that's going on, and all these crappy trucks are on the road and they're trying to tighten down, and whether they're really going to do it or not is, what they're doing, because you guys see it, is they're saying, hey, you leave an oil spot, or we see that you leave an oil spot at the, even though you just checked in and you pull off and there's a quarter size spot of oil, they're going to turn you around because they're not going to deal with you and your little baby small warning, small leak that's not a problem to you right now. They're going to turn you around, and then you go right back to that money thing. Right. And the headache that goes with it, right? It's the same thing as as the breakdown while you're loaded and you only got 6 hours left on your clock and it's supposed to deliver in 5 hours, right? That's the headache that goes with it.
Right.
Yeah. Twins are tomorrow. Facts.
Exactly. Look, I've been guilty of it. I mean, I'm sure everybody's been guilty of it. And every time I do it, it comes back and bites me in the backside like there's nothing else, man. And I'm like, yep, never doing that again. So I keep looking out my window. There's a bunch of kids in my backyard with my grandchildren, and they keep walking around my truck. And this one little kid keeps touching the grill. It's freaking me out.
He don't want to be a truck driver.
Huh?
I said he just wants to be a truck driver.
I guess, man. And look,
start climbing on it.
Keep his little hands off my truck.
Right.
Fight somebody.
You better be careful because that thing's only held together. Somebody said by bug guts. So a little kid could pull that thing apart probably.
It was, I thought that might be true. I was getting to the point where I was afraid to wash it. And then Rosie, she just woke up the other day and went out there and she's like, I'm just going to go kind of clean up the truck a little bit. I thought she was talking about the inside because, outside's my deal, inside's her deal. That's kind of, the thing, right? I handle all the maintenance, scheduling, and getting it done and getting it paid for and all that. And she keeps us, from walking in mold and sticky floors, right? Just saying. Right. But then I look out there and she's out there with like mops and buckets and scrub brushes. And I was like, what the hell? Don't ask her anything because then you'll have to help. So I just sat back down and played Minecraft for a little while because why not? I'm not a bad man. Don't judge me. Whatever. So, dude, you and me on a screen together is hilarious because the squirrels will get us in a heartbeat. And oh my god, that's why I got notes, bro. That's why.
Hey, listen, I'm not hating on your notes. I just realized that my comment section on the thing here because I'm looking at my phone and it's like way behind it. I don't know why. Because I was reading, not that it matters, but I was reading old stuff.
Right. I like that it's displaying both in StreamYard.
I do. And Mother, I don't know if you're joking or not, right? Or if you're trolling, but if you're not seeing somebody's post, but you're seeing it on his screen, it's possible because we're obviously playing on both channels. So maybe some of them aren't transferring over, just FYI for anybody
Yeah.
I don't know if that's a thing. I know that can be a thing, right? So
You should be able to see it in the scrolling chat.
yeah, I mean, I can see it. I can see everybody. So I would say that's probably not mother's just trolling. She's trying to be part of the cool, the cool clique. But or CB blocked her because CB doesn't like her. So I don't know. That's a thing too, right? A lot of hate on my side, right? Lots of little haters out there, right?
Right. I know. I think Cab over said that she's got DJ blocked earlier, and someone's, she's Cab was like, yeah, tell DJ I got him blocked.
Well, DJ's Canadian, so that's that's par for the course.
I love me Canadians because Canada is a great country. Whatever. I don't mean that in a bad way. I love you people. It's like, whatever. I see scrolling, bro. Second 4. I gotta move on. Building a culture of maintenance in your business, because look, we're trying to talk about business stuff, y'all. Whether you're running a single truck, you're running 10 trucks, 100 trucks, 1,000 trucks, man, power to you. I don't want that kind of headache personally.
Nope.
But whether you're solo or have a team, habits start at the top. The guy running the company, I've talked about it before. I can tell what a Target store director is like based on the person I meet on the dock in their store. Right. Because it starts at the top and it trickles down. There are those rare cases where the guy you're dealing with just having a bad day or whatever, and as you do it more often, you'll see, okay, yeah, that guy was just having an off day. But typically speaking, in a general sense, it starts at the top. Your leadership as a business owner, if you have employees or people working with you or people working under you, however you want to look at it, they're going to adopt your vision, your plan, your mood, your attitude, all of these things, right? If you're not cultivating that and making it, incentivizing, it's going to go poorly for you. And because nobody's ever going to take care of your truck the way the guy that owns the truck is going to take care of a truck.
Nope, that's exact facts. The amount, I mean, y'all know this already, right? Like, again, this is just preaching to the choir. I think for the most part, for the few that don't, is there is no, I don't care how good, when you pull into any dealership, right, any Swift terminal, any Prime terminal, you name the company, right, there's always a couple mechanics, I guess, depending on how many they have, that actually care, right? And like, I always, as much as the haters don't like this or don't believe it, is I try to treat people's equipment like it's mine. And I'm anal as fuck about shit, right? Like I am, all right? So I try to not dirty it up, but I also try to find out and fix all the crap on it and do it the correct way. But lots of people don't, right? And no shade thrown at night, right? But when I worked at night, there was 8 mechanics, and I can tell you there's 3 off the bat that, when they're putting the batteries back in, right, after, or changing batteries, is, the battery hold down does not have to be there because batteries are heavy as shit, right? And they're underneath the cab in a box anyway, so they ain't going nowhere. Right. That's the thing. And I'm sure you've all have seen that at some point or didn't notice it, changing a brake chamber, and, your new trucks, your old trucks all have like the big plastic hold downs for the 3/8 and the 1/2 inch lines that come out, that go for, for your service and your, that run in. When they change those and you change the lines out, they don't put the dividers back in.
That makes
automotive. How many times have you had your spark plugs changed for you old people in here? And, from the factory or on your hot rod or something, is you had them all lined out, but they're just a spider web. Day cab, I'm looking at you on this one, by the way. But a spider web because the guy just threw them in there. Is it right? It's definitely not right. Will it cause a problem? Probably. But if it doesn't, the chances for it happening are more, right? Whether it matters or not, it does matter. It's plus you're paying for it, right? You're paying for it. It's part of the deal. It is what it is. I literally, for everybody on my side, if anybody watched the James Best live feed, right, and we won't get deep in this, but and I'm not trying to throw him under the bus, but he got in an accident. It was his fault. I don't know, 2 months ago, with his one and only truck. Long story short, busted the hood, ran in. I shouldn't say he ran into. He bumped into a car due to the car spinning out ahead of him, but it was raining. He couldn't get stopped and blah, blah, blah. Lost his steering from running over debris in the road. Typical NASCAR accident, right? But he was griping because he's at a buddy's house right now, and good on him for doing this, and they're hand fixing his hood, right? Fiberglassing his hood, and they're gelling then they're sanding the bumper that they're putting on. And he was literally griping about, well, they were going to charge me $9,000 to do all this work we're doing here in 3 days. And I'm not going to change the radiator support because it's got a little bend in it, but it doesn't need changed. Well, FYI, the reason they were going to charge you $9,000, I'm not saying that number's not high as a cat's back, but because when you went and picked it up, if you paid any attention, right, maybe he wouldn't notice, maybe most people wouldn't notice, is if you pick it up and you gave them a $9,000 check and it had a small bend in the front or the lower radiator support bracket, right, you're going to bitch because that's not the correct way to do it. If you want to do it in your redneck, in the grass behind your house and not change the bracket, that's on you. But that you're paying a mechanic, right, to do everything correctly as possible, right? Some stuff, it is what it is, but as possible, right? Zip tie lines back up, zip tie wires back up, heat shrink stuff, put wire looms back on shit, Now
you're talking crazy, man.
Yeah. Look, today we got brand new Volvos for our company all around. They're not the new design because they're utility. They're utility bodies, or trucks, right? So they're still the old design or the old model. But I pulled one of the guy's trucks in to change. He has a dent in his fuel tank because we're going to put these trucks up for auction, a couple of them. So I'm going to change the fuel tank, and I popped the hood, and I don't even remember quicks in here, but I don't remember how Volvo's hoods, whatever, what their holds are, if they're cable or whatever. But I opened the hood and I'm just pushing on it from the driver's side, which is a no-no, by the way, right? And it just goes all the way. And luckily it didn't break. It should have broke because it didn't have the stop on it, right? But I mean, he didn't tell me, right? He didn't tell me because he don't care. But somebody along the lines didn't put the freaking hood stop back on there. Right, whatever it is, whether it's a cable, because I looked for it and it was just removed. Right, I could see the little hole where there was probably a bolt with a big rubber bushing at some point. It just wasn't there. That didn't rattle off and break. Right, somebody just didn't. I don't know. Maybe the cable broke and they didn't replace it, but they just. I don't know. And. Like I said, the hood should have fallen off right there in my shop, and it would have been my fault, of course. Right, 100% my fault. But
well, so like I was saying, building that culture of maintenance. And hey, Mike, I answered your question in the text. Go for it after our break, man. Building the culture of maintenance in your business. Whether your solar team, have it start at the top, setting expectations with your mechanics and drivers, right? Especially if you're running your own mechanics. Even if you got a dude that you're going to on a regular basis, set the tone. Don't be a jerk, but look, these are my trucks, and I'm really going to be kind of anal about some of this stuff. You know what I mean? We ain't getting mad. We're just making sure everybody's on the up and up, right? Be open, talk to people, express what's actually happening. You got to take care of your business. It ain't personal, it's business.
Yep.
And sharing those checklists with the people that are working with and for you, and creating visual accountability. Whatever, do it on a little Facebook group, you and your drivers, right? Hey, man, look, we brought in Joe Skippy's tractor today, and we can tell he's actually been doing these things. He's got a little checklist, and he's doing his daily pre-trips, and he's checking fluids and he's topping up fluids and he's not just, like whatever. I'll wait till my next service to get it done. Right. And that kind of stuff, and incentivize it, make it fun for people. I mean, look, pay bonuses. Some of these bonuses will be far smaller than the repair bill could have been had they not been doing these things.
Yep. I have a driver, and I love this, and we all know this guy, right? Is I have a driver that comes in, right? Our truck's idle 90% of the time. We do engine hours, we don't do miles, right? I have 10 and 12-year-old trucks that have less than 80,000 miles on them, but have 25,000 hours on them,
Right.
or 30,000 hours on them. But will bring me that comes in and says, hey, just so you know, my truck seems off, but for the last month it's it will pop in a D rate, right, or the def light will flash while I'm on the highway, but it goes away after it goes away halfway down the highway, which means he's hauling, right, we can haul overweight, so he's hauling 90 or 92,000 pounds of concrete in a 10-year-old mixer truck, and he's probably clicking along at 55 miles an hour because he just went in a D rate, right? All our trucks are opened up, but hopefully these guys aren't doing much more than 70 when they're loaded. But he's on the highway doing 55 because he's in a D rate, but he doesn't want to lose his truck, so he's not, he won't let me know. Because it kicks out of it, and it's fine for 4 or 5 or 6 days, or or whatever. And most of you all have your own truck, so I'm sure you're not doing that. But if you are doing that, right, that's just going to cost you, right? It's back to that. It's when it's time, you're just screwing yourself, right? You're not, and if you're on your go home load, then obviously you can let something like that ride, but you can only let that stuff ride for so long before it's always going to come back and get you.
Every time.
Yep. Putting off warranty work is always going to get you, right? It is. It's the way it's the way things are, right? It's
an employee mentality that's left over in some of these business owners' brains, right? Mm-hmm. They were so used to it as a company driver or whatever. They're like, it's not my problem. I'm just going to push it off till later. Well, you're the boss now. You're the one accountable. You're the one that's going to pay for all this stuff.
Yep.
Don't put it off.
I'll tell you, the biggest, which Wenzard said earlier, you said tomorrow, but I say this in our drama community. I say it all the time, and I say it about these idiots that we talk shit about and try to fucking destroy them. Right? They have no forethought. Right? They have no future thought of what comes next.
Right.
And all of you should, whether it's maintenance or it's planning for loads or where you're going to park, is everybody has their afternoon planned, right? Yeah. Or their evening planned, or where they're stopping at, their 10 hours planned. But when it's a maintenance thing or a truck thing or a tire thing or whatever is, you kind of have to be like, even if you're putting new tires on, it's like, oh man, these should get me until May of 2026, or they should get me for 180,000. When will the 180,000 miles be if I average it out of what I'm doing, this year so far? Because if you don't, when you need tires, it's going to be at the worst time, right? Like obviously you'll probably figure it out a couple months in advance or a month in advance, but you never know. You could run across the deal 6 months before you need tires and be able to buy them, because the shit's expensive now, right? So if you can get it ahead of time, then you can get it. If you're thinking in that direction, right? That's a small business thing.
Look, my service this past Wednesday was $1,800.
Yep.
But that was I had to replace some steer tires and everybody knows that I'm kind of a tire junkie dude, right? I'm constantly touching and molesting my tires. I've been a little off my game the last couple months. Most of you know that because of whatever, brain and getting right and all that. But anyhow, so I've been a little off my game, and I did not notice some outside tire. And it speaks bad about me right now, where my mind has been, because outside steer tire that on the outside shoulder.
Yeah, on the shoulder, right?
It was just starting to get into secondary rubber on that one damn tire, and those tires were anywhere far from bad, right? So it's an alignment issue on that whatever,
Yep.
and it's just that one side. I'm like, man, that's
It's alignment, a shock, right? Obviously, again, there's back to that greasing thing, right? You got a kingpin bushing starting, but not enough that you're going to tell it. Even, the amount of times that I lift most all our trucks are live axle front ends, right? They're 6x6s, so we don't have kingpins, but I can tell you right now is that they're pinned at the top and bottom. For anybody that doesn't know how like a live axle works, is right. They're pinned just like a 4-wheel drive Jeep or anything else.
Right.
So they're ball jointed pinned. Basically, they're not ball joints, but they're pinned. So I'm not going to tell by putting a bar under this 445 tire if the bushings are going out. But we also just know by watching tire wear and all that, and we're pretty anal. Our guys get bonuses based on checking tires. Actually writing down, of course they could be lying about writing down, right. But doing stuff like that, because on the tire thing, 10 PSI difference in a set of tandems for 3 days or probably a couple days, especially if you're running over hard roads, and it's hot out, I shouldn't use the word destroy.
No, that's the right word.
Yeah. Well, it will destroy your tire. Right. And you get on this tire thing is everybody hates the Chinese tires, your double coins and your whatever. If you I can send you a million people that buy double coins and all these crap tires. But what they do is they are the most anal people. They'll check their tire temperatures when it's hot, in the morning, because that's what crappy tires need. I'm not saying they're not going to wear out faster anyways, but those are even more pertinent to knowing they're more sensitive to everything that affects a good, a Bridgestone X, right? That you shouldn't, but you can, let it have a bad shock, right? On one axle or one side and a little bit of low pressure, and that tire will eat it a little more than one of these cheap double coins will, right? Or something to that effect. Shocks. You should be changing your shocks at least once a year on trucks. I don't care what anybody tells you. Maybe if you're running smooth roads and flat roads all the time, but if you're not buying a set of shocks for your truck all the way around once a year, you're just you're shortening every life that is connected to that shock. Bushings, your tire wear, brakes, slack adjusters, S cams, everything, because you're just allowing that truck to beat, that axle, that spot is now beating the hell out of everything that's connected to that little end link, right?
When you explain it like that, Mike, so what I've been doing in the past is when I change tires, I change shocks.
Yep.
Right? That's been my thing. But I'm coming up on 400,000 miles and I just had to change the steers.
Yep.
Right? So that's probably too long. So I think maybe I'll add that into my annual battery go through my truck battery thing, where I take everything out, I disconnect all the batteries, I clean all the ends, and then put it all back together and seal it up. I can just add in shocks, because shocks are actually really easy to do.
Yep, they're easy and they're not terribly expensive, right? Not to say that Trump's tariffs aren't going to destroy that for our world, right? Sorry, I had to throw a little politics there, but I'm just saying.
Charlie should absolutely do a video and actually post it.
Well, but and this is here we are. We're back to the same thing. I'm not, obviously, I get it. Tires aren't that hard to actually mount and dismount, right? I get it. It's not that daunting of a thing. And I get most people don't have the compressor and you don't have the bead, but you can do all the labor and find you a shop locally that will actually do the mount, the blowing up part.
Right.
They're a pain in the ass to roll when they're off the bead. But if you've got a truck and a trailer, you can do your swaps and take to it. And I do that right in this driveway for buddies, right? They come and they just want to, we want to flip steers, or we want to flip drives, or do trailer work, tires, I do it right out here, and I'll just load up a couple tires on a trailer, and I take them down to the shop that's down the street here, right? I pre-plan it all, and most of the time they'll allow me to do, to go in and do what I need to do on my own,
Right.
and charge me a little bit for use of their stuff, but that's a huge savings, and you're hands-on, so you know what's going on with it, right? You know if the beads got put in the steers or not, right? You know if you put 2 bags in instead of one bag that half of it fell out before it got in there, right? You already know.
All right, check it out.
Life on 18 Wheels did a video.
Yeah, I'm gonna come back to that. Hang on one second. Shut up, Jeff, before I throw you out. God, you just got back, bro, and I'm already wanting to throw you out.
I got to establish my dominance.
There you go, Life on 18 Wheels.
I know, right? He's like peeing on my leg. I'm at feet right now.
Look, on the shock thing, just so everybody's aware, like like everything else, right? There's levels. So, on this year thing is just again, that's an annual, hey, it's like you said, change tires, change shocks. By the way, shocks are way easier to change if your tires are off. Just everybody's aware it's way easier to get in there. But you can go spend $400 on a shock or $600, and maybe you get a couple years life out of them. So if you're that guy, you can do that too, right? And it's just a running thing.
All right. So, well, I had things I had to check. Squirrels, man, they're everywhere. I'm so far back on chat, it's insane. I'm going to come back to that. But first, I'm going to do our quick little break, and we'll be right back. Jeff's here, Mike's here, I'm here. Hey, Quick's actually going to pop in, so go ahead and send him that link, man. And when we come back, I'll throw him up. Next week, no, not next week. At RW Road Warrior Entrepreneurs. Good Lord, I can't even do my job.
Is this really a job though? Do you get paid?
I should some days, right? I get paid by hugs, and that's weird. Yeah. In the RW community, we help trucking entrepreneurs avoid the breakdown before the breakthrough trap. Oh wow, that's a mouthful. My brain mouth disconnected. From smarter systems to vendor strategies, we're keeping rigs rolling profitably. Join us at www.rwedrive.com, and we're going to do my thing, and we'll be right back, y'all. You're either running your business like an owner or like an employee, and if you're stuck in that employee mindset, you're leaving money on the table. Company drivers wait for direction. Business owners create opportunities. Company drivers chase miles and just drive. Business owners chase profits and know their numbers. Want to run a real business? Start tracking your numbers. Know your cost per mile and start saying no to bad loads. Drop "I run a business" in the comments if you're done thinking like an employee. If you want to take this mindset shift further, join the Road Warrior Entrepreneurs community at www.rwedrive.com, where we have profit boosting strategies, coaching calls, and real road warriors winning together. All right, so we're back. Quick ain't here yet. Whatever. That's cool. Slow people. I'm just kidding.
Yeah, I sent him the link. I didn't ask him what he was doing, if he was just chilling or what. So, anyways,
JCab had to correct me earlier, and I started so I could throw that up because it's important. Point of clarification: I don't have DJ blocked because he's Canadian. I have him blocked because he bought an electric Dodge Charger, and you know what? I'm saying that's fair.
What?
Wait, did he really get cab? Oh my gosh, I've been hooked on watching these videos about these electric Dodge Chargers.
Yeah,
I have. I've been on. I watch auto. Well, I don't even know what the channel. Auto Auctions. That's not the name of the channel. Something like that. Anyways, he bought one of these new Chargers, a 4-door with a Scat Pack electric one. It bricked itself with under 1,000 miles on it. So there you go. It bricked itself to the back of the dealer for the last 2 weeks, but. Anyways, as a side note,
Mother trucker, like no doubt. Quick will wear you out with maintenance tips. I pay my mechanics in cookies and donuts, hugs every other month.
Listen, I can tell you, his mother sent me a whole bottle of what'd you send me, Mother? It was a good bottle of spray wax for my toolbox. Of course, that cost me more work, but neither here nor there. And a bag of rags for it, right? Microphone. Thank you, Mother.
That's great. Blindside. I'm a businessman. Yup. DJ said I would walk before buying anything electric. All right, that's I
Okay, there we go. That's why that surprised me. Damn it, Daycab. Daycab in here trolling.
Thank you. God, Tro. That I love the way, another world. Live on 18 Wheels said he did a video recently on changing shocks, so go check that out.
Yes.
It's a lot, man. Jeff and I are managing a lot. Mike manages, like 47 crazy channels. No, because YouTube says you can only have one. So I don't know. There's stuff out there, weird stuff, whatever. But hey, if you guys got questions, comments, here's what I would ask. Excuse me. Try to keep it to subject if you can. Trucking business. Look, there's other places for the drama stuff,
Right.
like pop on where NARC's running his
Yeah,
stuff.
come on over, boys and girls. You just have to
People
figure out
will
what
see a
channel
different
we're on.
side of
Quick,
me.
I sent you the link, by the way, quick. I don't know if maybe he not seen the text message, but neither here nor there. But I sent you the
It's
link.
like, whatever, bro.
Maybe we made him wait too long. Now he's mad.
These guys are ignoring me and whatever, but look, come on, man. Don't be shy. I know you. Oh, there he is. There, look. Bam.
Well, I see. I was waiting to see him down on my end, so there you go.
What's up?
YouTube. All right, quick. So you got to turn your YouTube off. This is a professional.
It is off, isn't it?
I don't know.
Is it off?
No, you're good. Okay.
You got echo?
Background noise. It might not even.
All right. If audio good, I'll go leave and come
good.
back. All right, cool. Cool.
Hey, man, thanks for popping in, bro.
Hey, yeah, I got a couple comments or suggestions for people.
Please.
All right. I got this theory that. Okay, go ahead, NARC. What'd you say?
No, I said you roll with it. I'm sorry. I cut you off.
All right. We race cars, and there's a rollout on our tire. Tire circumference, they're all different. The car will go right or left. Same on a big truck. If a tire is low, that tire is smaller. If the tire is smaller next to the tire that's bigger, that tire is going to wear the fuck out. Oh, sorry, I didn't mean to cuss. It's going to wear. Yeah. So that's why you got to check air pressure. Make sure they're the same because it'll eat that tire up if it's low on air.
And the scrubbing that happens with the different PSI values, especially on tires that are side by side. I try to keep everything equal across axles, of course, and I try to keep them all equal to each other. But at the very least, those two tires sitting next to each other, they need to be
the same.
Right? The same size. You don't want one that's like 30 seconds and the other one's 30 seconds because good luck with that.
If you have a low tire and you don't keep up on it, and it's next to that big tire, it's gonna wear itself out. Yep. So you're gonna end up getting a new tire that's gonna be taller than the old tire, so that's gonna wear that tire. So you gotta replace both of them. At least you'll have a good spare for your trailer. What was the other thing? Oh, if you have someone come out and do a trailer tire, pay attention to what they're putting on your truck, on your trailer or your truck, and make sure they're not putting 11R on it. All right. They'll come out with a 22.5. They'll put 11R on it and send you on your way. That tire is like 2.5 to 3 inches taller than a low pro.
Jeff can say something about that.
Now you just wore out the tire next to it that was like brand new. Junk. Pay attention to what people are doing to your truck or trailer.
Yeah, I had 3 positions with 11Rs and 1 position with low pro when I picked this truck up.
Mm-hmm.
Steer tires, the right front's always going to wear on a setback axle truck. The outside edge is going to wear. 100,000 1 year. Just replace them both. Keep those 2 for trailer tires or spare.
Right.
Every year. That's 100,000 miles every year. Plus, it's a steer. That's the most important tire on your truck. If that goes, you're tearing shit up.
Right. Well,
I know what you're gonna say. They're good. They're still good.
No, I got you. What I'm saying is like someone like me, like I'm crazy. I molest tires. I said that earlier, you know, and they're like, bro, you should see this guy walking around, especially in our yards. Like, you know, if it's a Swift truck, bro, you should see I'm walking up, touching everybody's tires, and they're getting out. They're like, bro, let's fight. I'm like, calm down, Sparky.
Yeah.
The first time we met, I almost called the cops on Charlie.
Right.
If you keep airing your tires and maintain them and don't beat the shit out of them, put the weight on the trailer, not the truck. This truck has 311,000 miles on it on the original drives.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Just they're all wearing perfect, even. It's gone through 3 sets of steers every 100,000 miles. Every 100,000 miles, you know what I'm saying? And they just put those back into circulation for trailer tires. Then they'll cap them after they're wore out on a trailer. Another thing that I always try to tell people, especially new owner operators or anybody, 100, 1,000, 10,000. Fix the shit when it's $100 because it'll go to $1,000 and then it'll cost you $10,000. A check engine light, if it's a knock sensor, couple $100, $300, $400, whatever. If you don't change it, it can cost you a DPF.
Okay.
Because it won't regen. Because you put that shit off and it's gonna derate, and now you got to get towed and you need a DPF.
Right.
Fix it when it's $100.
Yep. Real quick is first off, and again, I know most all your people there in here that listen to this that they got common sense, but for anybody that doesn't know, the sidewall of every tire, and of course if it's a recap, we're on a little different game.
Right.
If you don't know where you want the tire should be at and you're questioning it, it will tell you on the side of the tire what the manufacturer recommends cold, right? And these are these huge engineers that test these tires. I don't agree with 120 in drives. I'm the 110 guy and 105 in the steer. But if you're questioning it, you can always put them there and watch them, right? That's where that keeping remarks and remembering, right? And marking down what you put them at, because you can see where they're wearing at, right? You can fix bad wear tires to an extent with air pressure if you're keeping a record and keeping an eye on the situation, right? Also, Wimpy, does Wimpy drive for Swift or Night? Because he had a question about his air system, and I have an answer for that.
I don't think so. Wimpy is, the bane of our existence some days and super helpful.
I know. Listen, we've been dealing with Wimpy forever.
But I don't know who the hell Wimpy drives for, and that's
well. Okay, Wimpy, you can put this in here. What if you know what system? If it's a Meritor system or a Hendrickson. But here's my if you have a trailer that's taking that long to equalize, that's normally because the stems inside of the axles are bad. That's usually why, because they don't move. What happens? They just bind up, so they're not opening all the way to equalize it out. But it kind of depends on if this is a trailer. I mean, if it's a trailer, if it's your trailer and it always takes that long, then you can kind of look into figure that out. But if you just notice it a lot, it could be a tank issue, right? It's hard to tell if you're switching trailers all the time. But usually that's a stem issue, inner axle stem issue. If it takes a long time for them to equalize out.
I got another comment.
No.
It's an easy one. Most of you guys do dropping hooks. I mean, I'm a night driver. You guys are Swift drivers. Air up the trailer and then do your walk around to see if you have air leaks on that trailer. We have air filters on the tires, on the wheels on the trailer. You'll hear that tank filling up. If that light's on, you got a low tire. All right. Make sure if it doesn't fill up, the valve's probably shut off.
Right.
Because it has a leak in it.
Yep.
That's a problem.
Quick. How often and how many times have you gone to pick up a trailer? Because I know it happens on your side and our side, and you're like, why is the tire flat, or why is things not filling up? And you're like, oh, let me check the valve. And you turn the valve on, and there's like this screaming airline leak right at the valve.
Yep.
Because, but nobody bothered to tell the shop. They just turned it off. They're like, screw it, it's not my problem.
But air up a trailer. Walk around it. Listen. Make sure that light goes off. Don't just get in the hook your lines up, get in the truck, push in both valves, and go. You probably got a brake chamber all spitting there back there.
Right.
Watch your gauges.
Yep.
If those air gauges are going down real fast, you have a air leak.
Right.
They don't even know if the glad hands are leaking because they're in their truck. You can't hear that shit leaking in your truck. You know?
So
unless there's, you know,
here's one of my routines. So when I go to hook to, our Target trailers, right? Most of the time they're dropped way too high, right? Because people suck, but whatever, that's fine. So I back in under it, and whether it's high or not, I get out, I hook up my airlines, I hook up my pigtail, I air it up while I'm sitting there not actually finally hooked to it yet, right? And here's the reason why, because most times when I'm hooking to these trailers that are stupid high, the yard guys dropped it with so much pressure on the landing gear that you can't get it to spin down anyhow.
Exactly.
Right? But if you push in the red button on the trailer and you're on flat ground, oh my God, common sense, y'all.
It'll take the tension off the landing gear.
Right.
Yep.
And then you can spin it down, right? And then, again, and now it's airing up the system, so give it a couple minutes. Go ahead and hook your stuff up, crank down that gear, get it going. Reset the brake, hook to your trailer, and then push that red button in again once you're solid and hooked. And Rosie, if you have a Rosie, has checked the kingpin for you because you're too old and lazy to bend down and look underneath. Whatever. And guess what? That time you're sitting there doing your walk around and your little pre-trip inspection, your tanks are going to be full. And if they're not full by the end of that, clearly there's a problem. And you generally will hear those air leaks, like Quick said. Hear them just walking around.
Yep.
So we've all got our systems, but if your system is get in, push the buttons, and drive, you've
go
got
fast.
problems with your systems.
It's routine, you do the same thing all the time. You won't forget shit. Learn your truck, learn everything about it. If it's making a noise, figure out what the noise is.
Right.
Tensioners, pulleys, tensioners. You'll hear that squeak. It's just like a water pump. It's gonna seat before it goes out and let you know, hey, you need to replace me because I'm about ready to go out.
Or you could be driving up the Grapevine or Cabbage Hill and get it done there on the side of the road because Lord knows that's fun.
Yeah. Walk around your truck, open the hood, check shit, look at shit. You're losing boost. No fuel, there's no boost. Probably got bad filters.
Crazy talk again. I don't know, especially if you've got one of those wonderful little separator type deals. Kind of a good sign of what's going on. So on Chewy, my old Freightliner, I literally used to buy the crappy elements in for my Davco, right? From the Loves. They were $11, right? And not $80 for the Davco whatever Detroit version of it, right? In that truck, I was a lot more aware of what was going on, and I was a lot more hands-on. And you know what? I did just fine with the $11 filters. And when I did have weird problems with bad fuel, things like that, it was only $11, and I kept 3 or 4 of those things on the truck all the time. Right?
Yeah, the Volvos, every 10,000 miles you're putting a water separator filter on. It's been doing that since brand new. It's just it's the holes. What do you call them? The
check valves.
No. The filter, the element. It's too small. It's too small, which it collects everything, but it clogs fast.
Yeah, it clogs fast.
So you got to replace them every 10,000 miles.
Better it collects things than not collects things, right? I mean, because Lord knows that.
Yeah, but quicks on them. I mean, well, again, we're just going to talk about your chat.
But if that filter starts rising, yeah,
you keep those, right? You keep those because they're relatively small. I realize like Detroit's and stuff, they can be somewhat sizable, but you keep some of those. I mean, when winter comes, I assume most of y'all have some red. or whatever 911. You have some white bottles, and you can keep a couple of filters, right? That's a maintenance thing. That's hey, it's wintertime, so it's time to throw a couple, and it's obviously not bad to have fuel filters on your truck anyway. Even with new truck, old truck doesn't matter, but especially certain times of the year.
If you run where it's cold,
that's one of those. You keep a list thing, right? Yeah, your little app tells you, "Hey, dummy, it's October."
Right.
So it's starting to get cold, or maybe September. I don't know. I don't know. Or go up in the fucking mountains. I guess it gets.
And that's exactly how my reminder list responds to me. It's like, "Hey, dummy, do this." But these other professional guys, I'm sure they're like, "Excuse me, sir, it's time to perform your regularly scheduled maintenance." But I don't know. There's a lot we can talk about here, and I dig it. And quick, thanks for popping in here and doing this, because
hey, no problem, man. You want to kick me out? I gotta be off in a minute anyway, because I gotta scale this overgrowth load up here at this Love, so I'll probably have to get off to use my phone. But I'll come back in after I'm done.
Yeah.
I think she's heavy.
You ain't gotta go nowhere. You gotta go somewhere, man. We got another half hour for our stream time, but if people got questions, by all means, throw them in the chat, y'all. Either channel.
I can't see the chat, so if there's a question for me, y'all have to read it and ask me, or read it.
Facts. We'll make sure that everybody. Hail to the
Jeff.
Hold on, I'm giving Rick.
Not unloaded and parked. I see.
Yeah.
And only like $12 million for like 2 pallets.
$235 for 11 pallets. Took them 45 minutes.
Wow. That's that gangster shit there. Lumpers are so gangster. It's so stupid. It's the dumbest system ever. Lumpers.
They're probably paying their guy like $20 an hour, and they just made $250 an hour off.
Right? For real.
It's your shit. Get it off my truck. Oh, we're gonna charge you. You ain't charging me shit. Get it off my truck.
Hey, okay. So Blindsight's asking opinion on dumping seafoam into your filter during the filter change. I'll tell you what, something better than seafoam. Just go get some diesel fuel.
Yeah.
For real. There's a million videos on YouTube. This is back to this social media thing of people that will show that when they drain their oil, they'll take a gallon of diesel fuel and just dump it in the oil fill, right? Like obviously we know that's not cleaning the whole engine out. We know this, but what it is doing is getting not all. We shouldn't say all. Some of the gunk that's in the bottom of that oil pan that's just sticky and sticking in there, getting some of that soot and all. I mean, I'm sure most of you that have been around know the difference between what oil looks like now when it comes out versus what it looked like in I don't pre 2008, right? Like basically what the nastiness, the funk. I can show you on my fingernails, right? This oil nowadays is you can't get it off your hand, right? That's not what oil's, even dirty oil. It's not what it's supposed to be. You can but seafoam, whatever you feel comfortable with. And I know what you're saying, Blind. Oh, you're saying for your fuel filter. I get it.
If it's an emission motor, I wouldn't do that.
Yep. Yeah.
No. If it's an emission motor, I wouldn't do it.
Say that because Blindsight's got correct me, Blindsight, but I'm pretty sure it's a 2020 Freightliner Detroit. It's either 2018, 2020. So it's a newer truck. No, because exactly for the after treatment system, because anything will plug this shit up anymore. That honeycomb.
And is it gonna restart on seafoam? Because you're putting that into the fuel, right?
Right.
Will it start on seafoam? Probably not.
And I would assume he's probably meaning like just dumping a little bit. Obviously not filling the whole filter up because Blindsight, he does his own shit. So I would assume just common sense he's not doing that. But there are products for that, right? I know you guys are Pittsburgh guys, right? You used to have the Pittsburgh guy on, right, Charlie and Jeff?
Right. I gotta jump off. I'll be back. Let me scale this.
Right. We'll be here for another 30 minutes. But they make products for that, right? I'm not a huge I don't want to call Pittsburgh. I don't want to call any of gimmicky or snake oil stuff. But I think all of it's probably has its own place. But I know they make fuel system cleaner. That's better than just dumping it in your tank, like putting it in a filter and stuff. So look into some of that stuff.
So once a year with Chewy, what I would do, and it was like a religious thing, and it seemed to my fuel mileage would indicate this, that I was doing the right thing. I actually used the Lucas fuel system additive, that big gallon jug, right?
Right. Yep.
And I pour a whole gallon of that stuff in my tanks once a year. My fuel mileage would drop for the next 2 tanks, and then it would slowly come back up to what it was, the previous year, right?
Yep.
You'd see a slow decline over the year with everything getting gumped up. But, on the newer trucks, it's even more important because of the crazy systems and the depth. And I didn't have all that with Chewy. Now I got it with this one. I have not had any of those problems. I actually did see a fuel mileage drop when I quit using max mileage in my
Right.
system. I actually saw a visible fuel mileage drop, which apparently surprised Bruce because he doesn't push it as a fuel mileage enhancer or anything like that. It's use it to keep the system cleaner. What
Right.
I did, I found an increase when I started it. I found a decrease when I stopped it. Right.
Well, I can tell you that on the max mileage one, I used that on my 2016, and I've got 1 million miles on the original DPF.
Right.
Yep. It just kept it clean.
No problems. It just kept it clean. So, once you get past the sticker shock of some of this stuff, but you realize what a 1 box costs.
Right.
Yeah. Well, and it's like anything else. It's just it goes in the rotation of that's what we do. I mean, I work for I probably said it on here, but I have a buddy that runs 296s and 97 W9s with N14s. And he runs local. Obviously, he pulls in dumps, frameless in dumps. He's got 2 dump trucks, and he does probably 80% of his work, but I make up for whatever else. I mean, he doesn't take his truck anywhere, right? He does it in his own shop. And, he runs, he doesn't have the after treatment, right? Of course.
Right.
But, whatever he runs in, that's just that's the cost of doing business on his end. So he puts in that Lucas, the honey, right? The Lucas Oil honey stuff. It's not called honey, but the thickening stuff, the stuff here, but it's expensive for a gallon of it. But I mean, he just buys a year's supply, and that's part of doing a business, right? He figures it in.
Right.
It's back to that. Hey, it's time to re-up
over time.
Yep, exactly.
I actually did the breakdown for this truck on the maximum. It's funny, I'm pointing like you guys can see my truck outside, whatever. But I did the cost breakdown analysis on the max mileage earlier on. I think it was like the first year or something like that. And it's like $200 a gallon, right?
Right. Yeah, I know that's
fuel additive. Well, it's a catalyst, rather. I should say the right word.
Yeah. Right. Yeah.
Get to the throat. If at 200, whatever dollars it is now, I think it's gone up. Whatever, I can't even think of it.
It's like
but
$250.
Here's what the cost breakdown was. It was 0.007 cents per mile to run it.
Right.
Yeah. And with the fuel mileage increase I saw, which was trackable and absolutely notable, and it was keeping things running better than it was prior to that. And here, and then at like 300,000 miles, those wonderful people at my local shop were doing some sort of diagnostic on a check light that I had, and because they got told by Detroit or Freightliner or somebody that there's soot around the exhaust pipe, which means there is a crack in the DPF. Change the DPF. So I lost 300,000 miles. I was going to pull the DPF.
Go inside and pay. Sorry, guys. I got to go inside and pay, but that's all right. Sorry.
You're good.
Go ahead.
But I was going to pull the DPF and stuff at 350, take it up to DPF alternative so I could get a visual inspection of what that time had run on the DPF and the 1 box, right? And those wonderful shop people swapped it all out and never took pictures, just said it was cracked, whatever. I'm like, okay, show me pictures of the crack. It didn't cost me anything, but it cost me, 300,000 miles worth of research. That sucked because I wanted to see I knew what it was doing for my fuel mileage all along, but I wanted to see what it actually did, what the visual difference between, the average truck going in at 350 versus one that actually ran max mileage for the whole thing, right? And those jack people, wonderful, they screwed up my research, yo. and no pictures, have no idea what it looked like. I didn't even find out for 2 weeks that they had replaced it. And that pissed me off. That started a whole nother thing. And oh man, but yeah, but 0.007 cents per mile cost for a visible fuel increase, which outweighed that 0.007 at least 10 times. Stupid brain math, at least 10 times. And what it would have done for the maintenance of the DPF, the one box, the whole, DEF system. I believe in the product. So I had a weird bottle of max mileage come through, and I never got an answer, which is why I never just restarted using max mileage. But I had a bottle that was completely different. The liquid itself inside the bottle was a completely different color than the color I was used to.
Right.
And I tried to ask them, and I never got an answer. It was just my bad. I didn't follow up, and I honestly was just like, whatever. So I stopped using it, and then I got another bottle. So I actually have this stuff. I have 2 gallons sitting in my room right back behind the monitors here.
You might as well use it, Charlie.
Right? We'll see. I totally lost my train. Whatever.
You're good. You were talking about you lost all your maintenance or all your
right.
scientific findings that you were doing because they interjected themselves potentially to make some extra money, right? Or whatever. But so you mentioned the DPF. What was the name of the place you were talking about? Because we've heard that name.
Alternatives.
Yeah, is that the play? Is that one of the companies that does? I know you said they do inspections, but is that one of the places where you can send your filters and they do them with the water pressure and the air pressure cleaning instead of baking them?
Yeah, it's a chemical clean instead of baking.
The chemical plate. Okay.
No,
go ahead.
Charlie can send you the pictures of my DPF, probably, right, Charlie?
Probably
the before and after pictures.
Yeah.
They got the flow through on my DPF better than factory spec by the time they were done with it.
That's okay. So that's awesome, and I'm sure Quick will come back in a second. But and I know that when not this past year, but actually it might have been the very first year of Matt, so maybe it was 2023. But we went through the little demo that they had that you were talking about, but also with one of the companies that does the mobile washing for night, right? That was when I was working at night.
Right.
That does the just they don't do the chemical. They just did it with water. I assume if I remember right, they use like soap, but they didn't actually use like chemical cleaning on it. It was just like a soap concentrate or something. Which I think that's when, I know that's not brand new, but that's when some of that technology, because they had, like I said, a mobile trailer that would come to say like Knight's terminal here in Indy and do, and then set up 4 trucks or 8 trucks to whatever it was. That's interesting because I've never heard anything bad about that, but I don't know a lot about what that's.
One of the upsides to them, and I don't know, maybe it's a partnership thing, but if you utilize their service, right? Which is a little spendy, but it's cheaper than replacing the whole DPF, right? And use max mileage from that point forward, they guarantee the DPF for the life of the truck.
Really?
So if it ever does go bad, they replace the DPF at their cost.
No joke. I didn't know that. If anything, I know there's other companies out there, but I know you guys are partial to Pittsburgh, but Kevin Rutherford, right? I'm not a huge Kevin Rutherford fan, but he's on Twitter and, he's kind of doing his own thing now, but he's obviously a big Pittsburgh power guy. So, and I was always in his chats. I did maintenance call-ins with him over the last year on his live show, probably 4 or 5 times, but, I know they push that stuff. They like that stuff. So, like I said, I think.
I can just give my experience and the experience of people that are close in our group, things like that. I'm not by any means saying it's the end all be all. People shouldn't take it that way. Yeah. I'm telling people all the time, you need to run your own tests. See how it works for your truck, because not every truck's the same. Not every truck's going to respond the same.
You're not. I mean, Quick can be one. I mean, well, you guys too, but Quick can be one to tell you because he's been at night for, and don't misquote me, Quick, but for 13, going on 14 years. He's been there for. Well, he's back. He's been there for a long time, and he can tell you right now that if you go to the parking lot in Indy and there's 2 brand new Volvos sitting there, one of them can be a trash house, right? And Volvos maybe not. Maybe International is a better one to say this, but one of them isn't going to last 60,000 miles before it puts a whole, grenades an engine, and the other one's going to be, a great running, badass truck, right?
Yeah.
It is what it is. Both brand new, right? Spec the same, bright red and pretty with the fucking night colors on it and the stickers on it, right in the same spot. And yeah, it is what it is.
If it's too loud, I can mute. I had to go in and pay, but if it's too loud, I can mute. So
no, you're good.
So,
but yeah, like I said, that's that thing of knowing, your truck, which is hard to do if you're, well, I don't know. I mean, I say this. I guess most everybody anymore is going to have a truck for a couple of years, but if you're bouncing in and out of trucks a lot, right? Or if you don't have a program already set up for yourself, that's back to that program, right? Because you know how it should operate and what you should see and shouldn't see based on mileage and time and how it should feel. And, I mean, again, everything's going to be different, right? 2 brand new trucks are going to ride different than each other. It's just the way it is. They're going to have different squeaks and different, and different whatever you want to call it, right? Different pressures. They shouldn't, but they're going to.
You got to take care of the truck. It'll take care of you.
Right.
Yep.
Don't just go out there and beat the shit out of it because it's going to turn into a shit box. Flying over train tracks, all that. Just, hey, drive the truck.
I'm going to fight with Windsard and welcome back here real quick because why not?
Oh, yeah, I see him. Yeah, get him.
So Windsard, a little better than factory. That's some wee-woo. Welcome, better than factory spec. Okay. Welcome said, don't ever say better than factory specs. How do they get better than factory specs? Windsor came back with easy, they lie. I'm going to fight both of you on that because here's the deal. So factory tolerances, just like for instance, tolerances on your alignment on one of those wonderful $80,000 laser alignment systems at the TA, right, will allow for wider specs or tolerances. Example, they're allowed to be within 3 mil of this and 4 mil of that. And what DPF Alternative does is they actually run a flow-through test, an actual scientific test. I know it's crazy talk and we're truckers and we're just big dumb guys, but they run an actual scientific test to test the restriction through the filter. The restriction limit on the factory DPF says it can limit, I don't know the scientific terms for the flow limits, but it can be within a range of flow limit, right? Right. The holes, right. But here's the problem. They allow for a variance in that flow retention, right? And as it BS marketing, bro, I mean, whatever.
Well, it's
cool.
like the what's that
Science
charged air cooler? It's like that charged air cooler,
right?
The Duralite. Freightliner says you can have a pressure drop during a pressure test of something like 3 psi,
right?
Which will absolutely affect your fuel mileage. What you're looking for is 0, and Duralite guarantees that you have 0 pressure drop across the system when you do a pressure test. Freightliner says 3 pounds of pressure. Duralite says nay, Ether Bunny.
And
Hold
they
my
back
beer.
that up.
And they back that up. It's the same thing with this stuff. There's factory spec that the engineers say it has to have this flow through in order for us to release it for production.
And that if you can get like garbage in it still leftover.
I will say
manufacturing.
I will say that since you bring it up, chances are that DPF when it was manufactured blew the factory specs out of the water, most likely.
No, and welcome. So Charlie just said they go beyond factory specs, and that's the problem. The R&D has been done by manufacturers, and you want to go beyond that. No, get this. This is not what I'm. This is not the argument I'm making. What I'm saying is that they have an acceptable limit. This is the best we expect. This is the worst that we'll tolerate. Anything that's worse than this number, we're going to send it back to back to the beginning, and we're going to replace that piece. But as long as it's within this, whatever, if we're talking like charge air cooler, if it's long within that 3 pound difference or 5 pound difference, depending on the manufacturer, we're going to say that's okay. But there are better limits based on the quality of the product. And it's not just the quality of the product, but how clean that product is to start with. Look at alignment, for instance. Like I said, you can be within so many thousandths of an inch, right, or whatever, on your alignment. And I assure you that if you're at the max tolerance on the right steer tire, and you're at the and it's max tolerance to the right, and toe in or toe out, and your left steer tire is the opposite max, you're going to eat them tires up. I don't care what, but you know what? It's fine. It's within factory tolerances. It's within manufacturer tolerances. So, right. You can not believe science, and that's cool. I mean, whatever. We can argue all day long.
Yeah, when you're talking about something like flow through on an exhaust system,
right?
Best flow through is to have no restriction at all.
Right.
That's the very best. Well, with these emission engines, we're not getting that. So if I can reduce that back pressure even a little bit, that's going to help my engine. So, yep. MD alignment for the win.
Cool. You guys can argue whatever you want. That's cool. Don't get me wrong. I'm going to push back. I've said what I said. And I stand by that. I mean, I think you guys know that I don't know. I have opinions. I by all no means do I think that I am right 100% of the time. And my way is not the only way. There are many ways to skin a cat. I just prefer my way, and I know my way works for things.
Yep. Hey, live on at 18, and again, for your probably core group, this is something that I don't know. I'll say it doesn't need. But if you take your truck, right, this goes back to just some general. If you want to do your own stuff and you want to try to extend life on steer tires, right? We're going to be talking about steer tires mainly, or front ends,
right?
Just in general. If you go wherever and get an alignment and your truck's zeroed out, and this Bending with Brendan or whatever. God damn it, yep. I can't even say his name. Bending with he does this a bunch. When you get your truck home, if you're one of these guys, you can get you a bar, right? Because this is how you do a redneck alignment, right, or a toe in. And you're not doing camber, you're just doing toe in, right? You're doing in out of your tires, which is obviously a huge wear, depending on which way you're going on it or which way a tire is. If you get you a bar and mark, right, you don't have to keep this bar for life, and you don't have to center it up. Just make sure the marks on the tires the same way. Jack your front end up, put your bar across it's got to go across both steers. Get you a piece of chalk and run you a line around both tires and do that measurement, right, and center up that measurement. Then over the course of a year or however long, whenever you want to check it, right, if you're doing if you bring your, at your house every 3 months and actually try to go through and grease stuff and check stuff, you can check your toe in and out because, and they'll tell you a 16th, probably not a 16th. We'll say an eighth of an inch of movement, right, of towing out or towing in from bumpy ass roads will destroy your tires.
Absolutely.
Right. And it's an easy check. Once you do it, that when you are pretty sure it's zeroed out. It's a 2-minute thing, right? It's while you're checking everything out, and it saves you a set of steer tires. It also helps with just drivability, right, or rideability, whatever you want to call it. That's another easy thing that's not thought of probably, for even somebody that's pretty hands on,
Right.
because you can just check it, and it's easy. Your crossbar, that's called a Dremel bar for anybody. That's the technical name on it.
Right.
But your crossbar, it's super easy to loosen the bolts, and you're not going to do one side. Well, you can if you want to get technical about it, right? You can loosen one side and move one, but all you're doing is straightening it out. Right, your toe. It's like, oh man, it's moved out 1/8 of an inch. Well, you may not care which side it is. You're just going to bring it right back into where it was.
Right.
And it helps. I have a buddy, Quick, the YouTube guys, the Zello guys, they know JB Rhodes. He is a shameless plug for JB, $300 a month. He does all, it's power only for Warner mainly. You basically use his numbers, but he has a Freightliner. I'll lie to you, but I think it's a 2004. It doesn't matter what year it is. He was driving down Indy, and he's pretty anal about maintenance, but and no shame on him, but he doesn't go hands on, and he was coming out of Indy, going east on 70, and had a shock tower that was rusted a little bit. Didn't realize it. We had talked about it at one point, and it was the actual shock mount, right? It's the L bracket off the frame was a little rusty. And he had said something about it. I don't know. We just, like in a Discord server, we're in a Discord server together, bullshitting. Didn't say anything about it. Hit a bump, and that sheared that shock tower. And of course, Detroit 60 or Series 60 shot that shock straight up into the bottom of his exhaust manifold, which of course didn't do enough damage at the time. It didn't break or crack anything, right? It broke a couple lower exhaust manifold bolts, and it broke a bolt, I think originally on the plate where the turbo sits.
Mm-hmm.
But he rode down the road another 100 or 200 miles on bumpy ass I-70 going in Ohio, and all of a sudden he started hearing a loud whistling. And before he got somewhere we could pull over, he had the turbo had moved just whatever, 1/8 of an inch off the plate, cracked the exhaust manifold, and the heat coming off the exhaust manifold out of the turbo, right where it was separated, had melted all the plastic, which is what he was smelling something before he started hearing the loud whistling. And $9,000 later, he's back on the road, right, for a rusted shock mount that he knew, that we had talked about, for a rusted shock mount. It's just that simple. 9,000. All the plastic was destroyed. Air filter, exhaust manifold. Busted bolts, so they had to drill some out. Right. I think the turbo was okay, if I remember right.
What do you think it cost to repair that rusted shock mount?
I bet you can get an eBay shock mount for that. I think it's a Columbia. Correct me, the people in chat can tell me. I think it was a Columbia because, like I said, it's around little before 2008. But probably $100 at LKQ or off eBay, and probably 30 minutes worth of labor. Right, cut the old bolts off because you're not taking them off with a ratchet, and put 2 new bolts on and put the shock back on, and you're good, done and gone. Probably don't even have to take off the tire to do it.
Right.
Right. But yeah. And on top of that, back to this time thing, 4 weeks, right? 4 weeks to get it fixed. 4 weeks.
Wow.
Now good. And this is, again, your core group, our core group, right? Most of the people in here that are from my group are NFG or Zello guys, right? So there's a big huddle of people that all give each other shit, just like Welcome Back and Windsart is about how crappy they are on maintenance, and how no one knows how to do anything correctly because they do it right. Like Tyrannus, he doesn't know how to do shit because I'm better than him at pretty much anything, including texting, obviously, or commenting. But neither here nor there. It's a whole group that's saying, hey, you should go fix that, right? Where you don't think it's a big deal, but also people that, you can help each other by, when it comes to, crap like that. Now, lucky for like JB is he has 5 drivers other than him in his company, and he's currently teaming. This happened the beginning of April. He's teaming with one of his best friends that's been doing his $300 deal for a couple of years now. So he lost technically lost no money, right? I mean they did, but not really, right? Because he's out running. They're team driving. But for anybody else, it is, that's 4 weeks plus,
destroyer. 4 weeks, bro.
almost 5-digit check to scratch out at the end of the game, right?
Right.
And for I don't know, I don't remember, they towed it somewhere because he's out of North Carolina. I think they towed it down to Southern Ohio because he had a buddy that has a shop down there. But then you're just going to have anybody wherever it breaks down is where it's getting worked on, right? I mean, that's and you know how that is. You're not playing at the best shop when that stuff happens, right? It is what it is.
Oh my God! I blew a Jeep motor one time driving between Carolina and Florida.
All right, we got our fuel, so I'm back now.
Yeah. All right, welcome back, man. But I had a Jeep motor blow. That sucked in South Carolina, midpoint, bro.
Yep.
I ended up at some dude's house who rebuilt it in his backyard. It was never really right again, but that was the only person that could do it. You know what I mean? You get it done where you have to get it done at that point, rather than, probably could have took better care of the Jeep. And,
right. Yeah, knock on wood. I have a 300,000 mile girl Jeep sitting out here in the parking lot, right? That's around the driveway. Of course, I don't drive it every day, so. But yep, and obviously, just like anything else, is there no amount of planning is gonna set you up for that, right? Like the shock mount, we talked about it. We didn't. It could have never, right? He hit the right bump, and it was the right temperature out for that metal to shield, right? Now, any other time that probably would have never happened, but he saw it. We talked about it. He didn't seem overly alarmed about it. I wasn't overly alarmed about, so like you said, it's a $500 fix, right? Everything with your guys' stuff. I just did brakes on another Jeep here this weekend that had just barely the lightest of a squeak on the pad, right? The lightest is just the squeaker starting. And come to find out is it had its adjuster pins on where one of them was locked up. So no big deal. It's brakes on a Jeep. It's not the end of the world. The worst thing is it would have, got into the rotor and cost me, $80 extra for a rotor and $100 extra for a caliper. But we avoided all of that with $44 pads, right? And I fixed the pin.
Yeah.
But it's one of those deals.
Yeah, just a little bit of preventative maintenance, y'all, can save you an awful lot of money and time down the road. And again, to put it in perspective for business-minded folks, right? It's not just the cost of the part, the labor, and repair time.
Yep.
The lost revenue because you're not out there making money during that time. So you're out $9,000. Had that been, his only truck, right? He would have been down for 4 weeks. How much revenue does he generally make a week? So that's a cost. If you ain't making it, you're losing it. Yep. That's the reality in the mind of it. So if you're, let's talk about net revenue. If you're netting $2,000 a week or whatever, right? Pick whatever number. Don't get hung up on the number. If you're netting $2,000 a week and you're down 4 weeks, that's $8,000 lost, plus $9,000 that you're writing a check for.
Yep.
Right.
Yeah, you're at $20,000.
$17,000 for a $500 fix.
Yep, you're at $20,000, and then just again, then you don't know if you're doing your own thing, right? Oh, I run all dedicated. Oh well, yeah, I can't be there for 4 weeks, right? You might not be running dedicated for that shipper anymore, right? They've done moved on. Right. You're an afterthought. It doesn't matter how good of friends you are with anybody.
You're out fighting the spot market again, or
Yep, exactly. You're back to TQL loads,
simple booking, whatever.
Right, I'm not laughing, but you're back to TQL loads and stuff.
Why would you risk that over something that? Look, I get it, man. We all screw up, but as long as you know, and I'm sure he understood it's a valuable lesson. Education is expensive
Yep.
sometimes. You
Yep.
know, you pay with blood, sweat, tears, or money. Sometimes all of the above.
Right.
Um, I don't know. Black eyes happen when you're not quite thinking through
Right.
the
Yep. Nope.
situation.
Facts. Facts. That's facts. Right. Lesson learned. A lesson learned multiple years ago, but I did it again. As I did it again.
Right?
Right.
We need a refresher every now and then.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. Hell of a refresher course. But
Fuel tank looks like a jelly bean. Don't touch it.
yep. Facts.
That's what I learned today. I don't know what anyone else learned, but that's what I learned today, and I am thankful for it because I think that's a valuable lesson.
And FYI, that just so we're injector cup. We talked about it. I'm pretty sure I've got one. I think I got a couple injector cups leaking. But on top of that is part of that fuel tank situation. Is funny enough is our tank. Well, not our tanks. All tanks have a check valve on them, right? An air valve that lets pressure go in and out for diesel fuel for heat, right, and heat and cooling. To let air move in and out of your tank. I would assume most of y'all probably know that is that little valve, the little tube had mud in it, right? So with that, all that shit going on, is that thing could have been regulating its own inner pressure, but it wasn't because that was plugged.
Could you imagine if that?
The vent was plugged.
Yeah,
We were talking about that.
Our vents. Yeah. Oh well. Yeah. I called you about it, but it's still pressurizing, right? Because I can feel flow. So there's an issue, but the issue because of that mud, right, is what caused it. That truck's probably been doing that for a long time. It's one of our, it's technically one of our spare trucks, so it doesn't get ran all the time. But that all could have been I mean, now me nor the drivers are going to check the breather on the fuel tank anyway. So I mean, unless I happen to just be under it, right? Our trucks go through the mud. It is what it is. But that's a little thing that technically could have killed somebody, right? If you didn't know that was going on, and you didn't pay any attention, and you're like, why won't this stupid cap come? If that driver would have taken his hammer, right? They all have little hand sledges for the concrete chutes and stuff, and said, I'm going to get this cap off, right? There's a mini bomb, right? I mean, that's what it was, right? A pressurized vessel is a mini bomb with shrapnel.
Well, yeah, when the cap does finally come off, it's going to be a projectile.
Right, that's what I mean. Yeah, everything's so.
Yeah, I just had a fuel cap go bad. The seal in the cap went bad apparently. So tell me if you think I'm right with my assumption. So I had a fuel nozzle that refused to shut off a couple weeks ago. And, while I'm on the passenger side and the driver's side was filling, that was the one that failed, of course. Dude, my tank was full beyond and, an extra 10 gallons laying around, right? I didn't think nothing of it. And I put the cap on and went on down the road, hot roads, pressure, shaking, heat, all these things, right? My thought is that with that tank being as full as it was, that the pressure, with the valve being there, I think it ate up that seal, between the cap and the tank.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about. Yeah,
I think it created
makes sense. It makes sense that stuff. And again, I know common sense goes a long way, but fuel and oil, brake parts cleaner, right? That does a number on any kind of rubber and O-rings. For anybody that I mean, because I'm a huge proponent of grab 4 cans of brake clean so we can clean off whatever mess is going on.
Right.
But I can tell you that it will cause even me more issue. If there's O-rings involved, right? We have lots of quick couplers that are O-ring, that are O-ring boss fittings and stuff, and that stuff will destroy it really quick. And welcome back. I was literally getting ready to say that. Welcome back said you need to tap to hold on. You need a tap crossover line so you don't have to go to back to the passenger side. Well, I don't know if he has a cross line or not. I was going to say if you have a tank that's over pressuring or it's not holding any pressure, that will cause them to not gravity pull back and forth, right? If that's an issue that you ever come across. Kenworths were bad about that back in the day because their line ran underneath. They may still do it, but it would run like W9s would run underneath from just straight to fuel tank, and the T was right in the middle of the cab, right, hanging on the frame. And one of those lines, like the suction line, would get a little air, air crack in it or a crack in it, and then they would never equalize out. But you would never really see anything, right? There are no leaks, or it's just a little baby crack that only shows itself, like you said, when it gets hot and you're moving down the road and it's vibrating.
Right.
All
right, so I could do this all night personally, but I know other people are like, no, bro, it's time to go. So we're definitely over our 2 hours. Mike, quick just bailed. I was gonna say thanks, quick. Well, you know what? Bump you, quick, whatever.
Oh,
bro. Damn. Thanks for being here, though, man. And seriously, I appreciate you guys. That other world that NARC works in, by all means. Oh, quick came back. Thanks, quick. You like bounced before I could say thank you.
Yeah, I had to switch headsets and I lost all volume. So
we're gonna bounce this thing. We're up to the end of this thing. Mike, if you want to link your channel in the chat, I'll throw it up there because people understand that don't know NARC already. His channel is a different kind of
here. And look, I'll add to this. I'll add some confusion. So I run multiple for anybody that's in. Oh, quick! You got some background noise.
My bad.
You're right. Here, hold on.
I got the window down, so let me put it back up.
Oh,
I was gonna keep driving, but it's like 8:30 by the time I get to where I was gonna go. It's like, yeah, we'll just stay here.
All right. So for anybody that's like Charlie said, that is that wants to come and see, and look, I'm gonna tell you right now, in our little drama trucking community, it's usually pretty busy, but these last few years last few months, it's been pretty quiet. So there's not a whole lot going on. But I run dual channels because I get lots of community guideline strikes for saying things probably aren't the nicest things to people, calling people out. So anybody that's watching or listening to this, I'm gonna put 2 links in here, right? I think. Oh, you know what? You know what? That's right. They won't go because I'm not wrenched up. Is the channel, whatever channel Charlie puts in, just go to post and you'll see there will be a second codename NARC channel. So sub to both of them if you wanna see some drama and some bullshit every once in a while, right? And come in the live feeds, and we end up talking truck. We end up talking truck before it's all over with. Pretty much every live feed. That's pretty much the way it works out. We talk shit about a few people, then it always comes back to trucking. Because it is, everybody's a truck driver. So it is what it is.
Right.
Oh.
And I was going to throw you a wrench real quick. I'll figure it out. I don't know. I'll put it in the description or something.
There you go.
I'm like not smart today. But seriously, thanks everybody for being here. Mike, quick.
Thanks for having me, buddy.
Yep.
And we'll be here live like we are every Tuesday at 6 p.m. Eastern. Next week, our topic is closing. That's funny. I'm reading the wrong line. That's my notes, not your notes. Next week, what's your truck really worth? Understanding depreciation, resale, and trade-in timing. When to sell, trade, or overhaul, how maintenance affects resale value, which ties back into this show, and hopefully some real-world examples of lost or gained value there, basing it on time and things like that. So, Mike, quick, you guys got anything you want to throw out there real fast?
Nope.
Just make money, truck it the fuck up.
Nice.
Yep.
Jeff?
What?
I forgot your name. That was great. Close out, man.
50% of the channel.
Keep that rubber side down, and remember, with no action, there is no traction.
All right. And take care of each other. Remember, look after each other. No one's out here looking after us but us. And, even the guy you're arguing with today could be the guy that's helping you off the side of the road tomorrow. So, you know what? Share a little love and have a good time and take care of each other. You guys.
Yep. You know the drill. You tell them this, but if anybody's got questions, right, reach out to you guys. You guys will reach out to me. We'll figure it all out. Right.
Mike don't even have to like you. He can actually.
I don't have to like you. Like, and just not that this has to be said, but I do none of this. It's not that I'm even worth any value, but I don't do information's free. right? And any help I can get, I would never take a dime from anybody, especially if it's just the phone thing, right? So it's free call, and if you're in my area, I can help you out with whoever I need to help you out with, right? Or it really doesn't matter what area it is. I know people all over, right? So, yeah.
If you want my number, you can get it from Mike. So
right.
he's got it.
Exactly. Quick and help, right? We know people everywhere. Yeah, I mean, you guys do too, right? That's the one thing about trucking. It's not just regional. Right? So, hell yeah.
All right, man. See y'all later.
Hit the button and we're out.